Okay, so going back to him saying that I'm gonna have the quilt someday, Tree of Life quilt. And it's interesting that it's called Tree of Life, thinking about generations. But going back to him wanting me to have that quilt, saying I hope that even though you didn't know her, you'll know that she was a special lady to me. He's not served by me knowing his grandmother was a special lady to him. His grandmother, who I never met because I'm pretty sure she passed away before I was born. She's not served by me knowing that she was a special lady to him. And again, I'm not criticizing, I'm opening this up. Butter churns, candy dish on the table that was just a regular fixture in your home throughout your life. I think what people don't want to let go of what living was to them. It's not that my dad has any butter churn in his house. It's the butter churn that belonged to his grandmother that his grandmother used. This was the stuff of life, and I think people passing this kind of thing forward is them not wanting to die permanently. Even after they die, they don't want what they were and what their lives were to just stop mattering. They want to leave some kind of imprint. They want their lives to have, I don't know how to phrase this because I'm not saying they want to be famous or recognized, but I think people just want the stuff that mattered to them to just go on. And we're back.
Time to kill people.
With this new camera, I have 3 batteries instead of just 1. So, charging the other one, but I can keep on recording. I can just go forever. I can go all night.
Woohoo!
I could go on forever, baby. That's from Home Alone 2.
Oh, really? Still never seen those movies. This is new.
Well, I guess this was inevitable. Who's the +1?
Inevitable indeed. And this guest of ours has an old score to settle with you. You are a traitor of darkness, as it is of light.
Well, guess I can live with that.
It is a being of whom we have no memories. A true nobody, hailing from the edge of oblivion.
The being before you was recreated from the records.
This music is a slow arrangement of the first stage of the Xemnas fight.
By young Xehanort.
Oh, really?
Dun 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 dun
It
dun
was
dun dun
erased
dun
from
dun
all
dun.
memories,
Oh.
Dun 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 dun.
and it harbors absolutely no knowledge
yeah.
of who it really is.
Wow, I never caught
Even
that.
I had forgotten its existence.
I love that song. This is
But
really
like
cool.
the others, I could not recall why. Truly, the perfect pawn created for this very battle.
So, who is it?
You called on one of the new 7 hearts. You must be desperate.
If I'm a traitor, then I guess Kyrie here is the trump card.
What?
So it's not desperation I see in you. It's foolishness and lunacy.
Huh?
Without the battle between the 7 lights and 13 darknesses, Kingdom Hearts requires the 7 hearts. That is why we seek to destroy the Guardians. Are you truly foolish enough to believe you can defeat us?
What do you think?
I think you'll lose.
Just went up yours.
Axel.
Yeah, right!
I didn't even catch that before.
Axel.
What, that she reacted?
Oh, no, that
Or
he
that-
goes, he's like, up yours.
Even if you possess the strength, this being cannot be defeated by your hands. Even if memories are lost from you both.
All right. Let's find out. Wait. That Keyblade.
It's just like Sora's.
Are you... Is that you, Roxas?
Roxas.
No, it's not Roxas.
You idiot!
Roxas. Axel. A girl?
You with me?
Yep.
I kind of wish it would let you fight there.
It's strange that it doesn't, because I know you can play as Kyrie later, so why not right here too?
Nice to see ya.
So you gotta play as Sora here.
It's really weird.
Yeah. Get away. Moonshine down. Huh?
I haven't taken any damage yet. Well, that's about to change.
Just stop! There! It's over!
I know she'd use mad teacups.
Start spinning around like crazy. Woohoo!
Stop it! Isa!
Just gonna do this whole big long thing again.
It changes it up a little bit.
Okay.
Semnus.
There was a time when I trusted you to deal with traitors. And now, your betrayal outstrips them all. What final words do you have for your superior?
Well, let me think about it. How about... You were never my superior.
Ever the rogue pawn. Knocked from the board early in the game. Utterly useless and forgotten.
You kidding? Do you know how popular I am? I got loads of people rooting for me. Sorry, boss. No one axes Axel. Got it memorized?
Is this supposed to be a Keyblade? Or is it some sort of joke? Our plans have been dashed by you. Far more times than I care to count. Now it ends. I will purge that light in you. With darkness. Changing sides again?
We need him alive. You know that.
We only need his heart in order to forge the key. We do not need his soul. Oh, but that's right. You were friends. Then, you take his life.
Who are you?
Don't do this.
Don't or I'll kill you.
Wait. It's all right. You can stop now.
You can like barely see his face because the key's so
right.
big.
Yeah.
Shion.
Alright, here we go.
The memories are returning.
Useless puppet.
Just having this kick.
Shion!
I think a lot of these scenes with like added stuff should have just been like this from the start.
And still
Yeah.
you think you can
It would have been
play
much
at
better.
being a
It would have been less
guardian
just
of
like
light?
what? Like this is weird.
I feel like
You can wait your
I feel like they
turn.
would have been, but I
Also
imagine they were
when-
probably like maybe pressed for time or something.
It's just. Did he just kick him in the face?
Oh, I think maybe
Because previously
he
he just
stepped
like,
on his hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
It was
did
really
think
like weak looking.
I think they changed that.
This is Roxas's heart? Oh. Why? Sora. Roxas? I need your help. Got it. I have an idea. Wait for my signal. Okay.
So that Sora who was just talking to Roxas is going back to the past Sora.
Yeah.
So before he went back to the past,
Hands
Roxas
off
still
my
came
friends.
out. So,
It cannot be.
There's more.
Roxas!
No, this stuff would have happened anyways.
My turn.
Roxas.
This is impossible. Where did you get a vessel?
Same as you.
Same how?
Most of the organization's members, they traveled here from the past as hearts. And you had replicas ready and waiting. One for each of them.
Who told you?
I owe my return to many. Some of them people you knew.
Ansem the Wise. Zexion.
And others too. It seems you're not as good at winning over people's hearts as you think.
Ah, I see.
There was one last thing I needed in order for me to be whole again. A connection. Sora helped me find my way back here. To my friends.
Roxas!
Oh, they changed the... Oh, okay. Yeah, originally that part played like a little beat from Sora's theme, but now it's done. It's doing Shion's. Shion.
I need your help. There's something me and my friends have to reclaim. Something that connected our hearts. That's what's binding me to this world. The last key. I need your help to get it back.
Got it. I have an idea. Wait for my signal. Roxas! Now! Hit!
Sinks his key into Zemnis's brain.
It's like, whoa, didn't expect that to happen.
That worked out better than I thought. So he's trying to stop him from taking Kairi this time, I guess. Oh. She did it.
Now watch as your friends slowly vanish into nothing.
Oh no.
These useless pawns must be cleared from the board.
You have reversal. And I believe you can like dash twice, like dodge twice in a row.
Well, I can't ever use... There we go.
Let's get this started.
Every time reversal pops up, I have like a second to press it, and I...
Going somewhere?
So you can keep pressing like X here and then finish with triangle.
It's like standing around and kicking him and stuff, beating him with clubs.
Finish.
Now, the big finale.
Here comes the big one.
Buster Wolf.
Eyes out. Time to wake up.
This is miles better than how it played out in the base game.
The moon shines down.
Start stomping around. Oh, nope, he's just running that shit.
Yeah, this song is incredible.
Yeah.
Call on the moon's pale light. Now, let's get this started. Yeah.
Yes.
Burn. That's all.
What do I do here? Just...
Same thing. Yeah, it's the same one.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
okay.
thinking of you or whatever. Yeah.
It's got the clock tower in the background.
Yeah.
Or as the little icon.
Kick ass now! Eyes out! Time to wake up!
You got the where it needed to be.
Okay.
Roxas, shield! Get what's ours!
So this bit here, I don't really know why this needed to be a thing.
Is this the sigil?
Yeah. That's the mark Xemnas gave us. It's what connected us from the start. It's the foundation of the bond we share.
It's like you guys were friends just fine without needing to get this.
It was just like happenstance that they were all nobodies and in the organization.
Yeah.
The mark will disappear along with Xemnas, and that's fine.
Yeah, so they say here it's
I
like
just wanted to reclaim it for myself.
it's like they don't need
It's
it.
how our bond came to be.
It's
This,
just random thing they wanted
this
to
is the
do, I
connection
guess.
we needed.
That's why I needed Sora's help. So that we could end this battle. Once and for all.
I don't need hearts. I will
So now it plays
scatter
out
them
the same
all
as
to
it did
the
before.
winds.
Nah.
What difference does one little light make? You have others. Just as we have more darknesses to replenish our ranks.
Rest, Axel. Roxas will fight in your place. And I'll fight for Kairi.
Yeah, when it comes to Keyblades, you're the old hand.
Yeah, all of this is should have how it played out from the get-go, I think.
I don't even think this fight really needed to happen. I think that the way it was,
It's my turn.
the way it was before, like with just those three fighting him, I think is a lot better.
Yeah.
And like how like Xemnas grabbed Kairi, the way like he grabbed her while she was attacking him,
Yeah.
I think was way better than him just teleporting behind her and like got a
Yeah.
random hostage.
Right.
All right.
He's angry. He's gotta do it till his little bar runs out.
It's over.
There he goes.
I call on the moon's pale light. This fight is over.
I don't quite get the point of reversal in this fight. I'm not having much luck blocking. Just gonna stay over here.
Abandon hope. It's over. Get away!
There, you got him. Get him.
It's over.
Oh, okay.
Abandon hope. Abandon hope. Expire.
I wish you could do something to knock him out of invincible berserk mode.
I feel like there's something. I just can't remember what it is.
The moon shines down!
Let's put the fight on pause real quick. Oh, we can okay.
Yeah.
Still haven't achieved our goal.
You can still hit him when he's like that, just not when he's like rampaging around.
Why so sad?
You let them reduce you to this?
I thought you outgrew the marks under your eyes.
So?
You look like you need them.
Stop it. The whole act. I thought this was all for her.
At first, I sacrificed everything to try and track her down. You're the one who went off and made other friends. Left her and me both in the dust. It infuriated me how you just exited our lives. I lost all sense of purpose.
I didn't forget you.
Yes, I know. You wouldn't do that. But I was jealous.
You admit it.
Well, if I make it back, you won't get it out of me a second time.
See you, Isa.
See you, Lee.
This grown man who sounds like he's in his 30s or 40s was jealous of his friend for having other friends.
Yeah.
That's what this, however many years and years.
I think you're not supposed to think of him as the
building.
voice
You go
actor.
help Kyrie.
Yeah, but I mean, look at the guy. Like,
Yeah, but these guys are probably like supposed to be in their 20s.
Gotta run.
You know how freaking
Good
anime
luck.
characters are. Honestly, that's probably how old they are. In their 20s.
All right.
Because they're what, like
But
teenagers
now-
in Birth by Sleep?
yeah,
Is that 10 years later?
all right. Still, it's. I was jealous. I don't know. In their 20s. I don't know. It doesn't really matter how old they are. It's just. It's hard. It's kind of just. It's like, well, that was
Guess I
nothing. I
should
was
have brought
jealous.
some ice
LOL.
cream.
And it's also just kind of hard for me to separate myself from just. Given already how, like, just kind of. It's like it feels like they didn't know what to do with the characters, so they just kind of like spun that thing and like added in the whole, like, they were looking for a girl who was first mentioned in the mobile game and then in this game. I feel like they didn't know what else to do, and then it's just really simple, and then on top of that you got this guy who's like in his 50s delivering these lines, and I just can't separate that in my head. If it were like
Roxas,
a better story, then
and me. That's a
that'd be one
total
thing.
of 5 Guardians. I just need to follow the hearts of 2 more. Then I'll reach Kyrie. The question is when.
Yeah, who are the others? I forget. All the hearts, is it
It's night already?
Who did he just list off? I was too busy ranting about Kingdom Hearts.
Ventus, Aqua,
Riku?
himself, Terra, and Roxas.
Dulk. We already talked about this over text a little bit ago, but Jamison's name. Jamison Reed Bagwell. We could just share where Jamison's first name and middle name came from. I asked my mom about the middle name, and she said it means red. Reed means red in some other language. And she thought maybe because I had red hair, Jamison would also have red hair, so his middle name, like they picked, you guys picked Reed as the middle name, but you don't remember that being the case.
Yeah. I don't remember red being anything significant in the decision of, his middle name. It's just different, and I think it came after the first name. We had already decided on the first name, which I'll get into in a second. Yeah. But whether we like the sound of it or my memory may be lapsed there on that. Your mom may be remembering it correctly, and maybe the color red. I mean, red was always my favorite color, but I don't recall that coming into play. But the first name was kind of in respect to my mother, and I let my mother know how we came up with the name. Her father his name was James Harrison Armstrong. So we took the first and middle name of his and combined them to Jamison. And even kind of the spelling, we didn't have an E in the middle of the name. There's an I in the middle of the name. So that was geared off of the Harrison portion of it. But just a little background on my mother's parents, whom I never got to meet. Her mother died when my mother was 3 years old when her mother died. And there was I think 7 children. So her dad, was trying to raise all these children, and they were poor. And her dad died when she was 6. My mother, in particular, went to some relatives who was actually a cousin.
Her cousins.
My who I considered my grandmother, was actually my mom's cousin. And they didn't have any children, so they took on this little girl, my mother, to raise. Who I referred to as Mama May was the cousin that raised her. She was a great grandmother to myself and my brothers and Donna, and I have only good memories of her. And I can look around this house and see so much of her here, things that she had, quilts that she made. There's an old churn that was hers that, we had a milk cow when I was growing up, and we used to churn butter in it. There's a 5-gallon glass carboy, that I'm looking at right now. It's blue glass, and it's got 1921 stamped on the bottom of it, which was, by the way, is the year that my dad was born. And my grandmother, originally that carboy was used as a water dispenser in her husband's insurance business. He sold insurance. But in later years, my grandmother made homemade wine. She made homemade wine in it. My dad made homemade wine in that carboy, and I made homemade wine in that carboy. And there's a wooden plug in the end of it right now. And that plug used to be a croquet mallet, the head of a croquet mallet. And my dad took that wooden plug and whittled down one end of it to where it would fit into the top of the carboy. So I'm all about nostalgia, I have these memories of my grandmother and all the holidays we spent with her and the great meals that we enjoyed, and weekends we would go and have popcorn in her fireplace and play card game called Rook. And so my memories of my grandmother, Mama May, were great. So I look around and see all these items that I have that belong to her. And there's a candy dish here, a blue glass candy dish that was on a table. Just when you go in her front door, that little table was to the left, and she always had candy in it.
I know that dish, yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm looking at it right now, and there's, some mints or something in it now, but that little dish is special to me, it's, I've got a quilt that she made, and when she was making it, I was just a kid, and I told her how pretty I thought it was, and the style of quilt is called Tree of Life, and it's this big tree that goes pretty much the length and width of this quilt, and it's got leaves, and she padded all the leaves and the trunk and the branches, and she told me then when I was having this conversation about the quilt, and she had it on the quilting frame and she was still working on it. She said someday that quilt will be yours. So when my mother passed away and we were all going through, items, there was no discussion. I told my siblings, I said, that quilt is mine. There was I was claiming that. And so I still have it. And it's, someday it'll be yours, Jordan. And I just hope, while you didn't know my grandmother, know that we thought of her as a special lady, and a lady that would take us fishing as boys in a creek or along the river, and she was a great cook, and I used to go and mow her yard after I was old enough to drive. I would put a mower in the back of the car in the trunk and drive to Dover and mow her yard, and she would give me $10. And I could make that $10 last for about 2 weeks, so that's what I did for years, one summer before I actually started working at Train when I graduated from high school. But anyway.
It's good that you claimed that quilt, because that's what she would have wanted. That's what she said.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
I thought, for a second I thought that meant you're gonna drink this instead of drinking me. Like, wait, what?
Sujin, I think we need to be afraid. Like, look.
That's fine. There's a staircase leading nowhere over there, and I guess the girls sitting on it posing for their pictures they love to take are weirded out by me recording this, but I'm just recording the staircase. I'd be even happier if they weren't there. No offense. Ben loved gear. Just listen to it. He wanted to be the one to at least partly set my tripod up.
Talk to me, baby.
Okay.
How high we want it?
What?
How high?
Oh. Okay, take two. This is take one as far as you're concerned, but I actually came here yesterday to record, and I recorded my whole thing with Ben and Bobby sitting over there. And I just didn't do a good job. I was getting frustrated with people sitting really close to me and talking and laughing when I'm obviously recording. And I also noticed a really off-putting, like, black stain or smudge on my shirt that I think came from my camera strap that I didn't see until I was checking the footage later, so that's okay. This is take two. The video game portion of this episode, the DLC, is essentially take two of that same stretch of the base game near the end there. It's just doing it over, but with some extra stuff that honestly should have probably been in it in the base game. So, maybe. But anyway. So that's also, I'll get into this, but that's also why I wanted to record up here again. So, today I want to talk about names and how I think they are conceptual heirlooms, and so, or they can be, depending on the reason behind why the name was given. So I talked to my dad and my mom about my name and Jamison's name. My name is Jordan, named after the river that Jesus was baptized in. Middle name Allen, it's my dad's middle name. Jamison was named after my dad's mother's father. Middle name Reed. They thought he might have red hair. It's like an Irish, Scottish, old Celtic, whatever word. It means red-haired. So I don't script things, and there's kind of a lot to talk about in this one that is, it might be challenging to try to connect, but it all is kind of related in my mind, so let's see if I can translate onto the camera. So I don't want to go too deep into Kingdom Hearts lore because it's silly, but this particular episode, and the reason why I wanted to talk about names and Jamison's name and the origin, which is something I've always known I wanted to talk about in this series, the reason why I chose this episode for it is because in the gameplay portion of this episode, Roxas, after he comes back, reclaims the sigil, the X in his name, from the organization. He wants to take it as his own. So to explain that for people who didn't watch the gameplay, and if you're not interested in Kingdom Hearts, still try to understand what I'm saying here, please, because it's relevant. There are characters called nobodies who were not originally supposed to exist. They're kind of offshoots of other people, and they're named after the people they originally were. You take the letters of that person's name, rearrange them, throw an X in there somewhere, and that's the name. So Sora's nobody. Rearrange S-O-R-A, add in an X somewhere, you get Roxas. So yeah, the character Roxas wasn't supposed to exist. Came into being through Kingdom Hearts plot stuff. Joined the organization, which is an organization of nobodies for the most part. You see in Kingdom Hearts 2, when you see the scene like shortly after he was born, the leader of the organization gives him his name, and you see him kind of make the letters appear in the air, the S-O-R-A, swirls them around and adds an X in the middle. And I thought that was just kind of a flourish, like in Harry Potter Chamber of Secrets, when I am Lord Tom Marvolo Riddle, the diary projection man, Tom Riddle, makes those letters rearrange into I am Lord Voldemort. I thought it was just that to kind of explain, oh, that's where the name came from, but Kingdom Hearts 3 DLC reveals that the X was an actual, maybe tangible thing, like a metaphysical, magical thing that did exist, and it was something that could be taken because Roxas took it. It doesn't explain, or if it did explain, it went over my head. It doesn't seem to explain what it is or what type of object it is, what type of existence it is, but that doesn't matter. The point is, Roxas has come back. He's no longer part of the organization. They're bad, he's good. And Roxas wants to reclaim that X. And I found this interesting because there's no, as far as I can tell, there's no plot mandated reason why he needs to reclaim that X. Reclaiming that sigil for his name, I think I would like this a lot less if there were some kind of ham-fisted plot reason for why it needed to happen for the main characters to achieve their goal, but there's not. He even says, it's like he feels the need to explain himself. Not quite apologize, but he feels the need to explain himself because he knows people might not understand why he's doing it. He says, I just wanted to reclaim it for myself. Like he just wanted to. It meant something to him. And in the midst of this really important, like all this is happening kind of in the climax of the story. In the midst of all this important stuff that's happening, he does this because he just wanted to. It just mattered to him. He says it's the foundation of his friendship with the two characters, Axel and Shion, which basically were all he had as a non-entity that wasn't supposed to exist. Like no family, all he had was those bonds that he forged for himself. And so the basis of those bonds was their time together in the organization. So although he was given the name by the leader of that thing, he now wants to own it for himself, and so he reclaims his sigil. And yeah, I was interested in the fact that he just wanted to do it because it just meant something to him. Because it's related to a name. And thinking about names, I've thought about how my grandmother's father died when she was young. She wasn't in his life for all the places on the roof they could have sat, and they chose right next to me. And I knew they were going to do this, and I knew they were going to do it, and they did. My grandmother's father was not in her life for anywhere near as long as he should have been. He died. My dad, naming Jamison after him, James and Harrison together, Jamison, was to honor him, and he made a point of telling my grandmother that your grandson is named after your father because he knew that would mean something to her. It got me thinking about, I can't think of any specific examples of this, but I know it happens. People might name their child after someone that they love who they have lost. Maybe unfortunately someone's father passes away before he's able to have a kid, so when he has the kid he names it after his father, something like that. And I'm about to talk a lot about that. Not criticize, like questioning it, not in a critical way, not saying it's bad, but just because I want to open it up. So I just want to put that disclaimer out there so I don't have to keep repeating myself. Because when you name a child that, you name a child after someone else, it's like you want to honor that person, but that person whose name you've given to the new child, if they're no longer around, they're not exactly, you hope that they can see what you've done and know that it's because you care about them in the same way that I hope Jamison can see these videos that I'm making. But you don't know. There is the chance that you naming, well, it's pretty much the case that you naming the child that is not going to benefit the person who is passed on at all or in any practical way. Very possibly at all if they just don't know and won't ever know. So if it's not, you can say it's for them and you can hope that it is for them, And I do, like, in the same way that I say about this series. But in the if it is the case that it cannot they cannot possibly receive anything from it or benefit from it, then it I guess it's kind of for you. It's and I think realistically it is, these things that we do are for us in a big way, maybe primarily, and I don't really like the thought of that, but maybe primarily for us. And I say that about my own efforts here as well, because okay, I'm gonna get into this video chat with my dad. He's talking, he says the phrase, and it stuck with me the way he said it: I'm all about nostalgia. I'm all about nostalgia. That is a very concise way of expressing what I'm about to sit here for about 35 minutes talking about. Hopefully not 35 minutes, but let's be real here. He's surrounded by things that belong to people that are no longer with us. He has the candy dish that his mother, my grandmother, owned, that he grew up seeing in that room. It's now in his house. He has the butter churn from the woman that effectively was his grandmother. He doesn't need to churn butter with it. He doesn't churn butter with it. He just has it because it was hers, obviously. It's an heirloom. And I don't guess I need to explain what an heirloom is, but there's that stuff. There's that quilt that he really wanted to get, Tree of Life. He can buy a quilt easily. He can get any quilt, but he wanted that quilt. And I don't think it wasn't because it was a really great quilt, even though I'm sure it was a great quilt, but he didn't want it because it was a very good quilt. He wanted it because it was his grandmother's quilt, an heirloom. She told him, someday this will be yours. And that was a plot thread, if you want to call it that, from earlier in his life that he wanted to see resolved, because that's what's supposed to happen. She said, someday this will be yours. When she passed away, it went to his mother, if I'm understanding correctly. When his mother passed away, it went to him, and he told me, someday it'll be yours, Jordan. And he told me, I hope someday, even though you didn't know my grandmother, you'll have this quilt and you'll look at it and know that she was a special lady, that, she was a special lady to me. She was my grandmother. I loved her. It's important to him that I know about his grandmother. And I'm going to come back to that. Another thing is just the fact that she wasn't his grandmother exactly. She was his mother's cousin, like older cousin, who raised his mother. She effectively became, she played the role effectively of my grandmother's mother, and she, for all intents and purposes, her role to him was that of a grandmother. And it could be the case that him calling her his grandmother is just like a simplified shorthand way of saying it, so he doesn't have to explain everything. But I could be wrong about this, but it does seem to me that when he refers to her as his grandmother and says she was a grandmother to me, he's saying it with pride, because there's a certain idea, there's certain connotations that we attach to the word grandmother and the idea of grandparents. I could be wrong about that, but I think it matters to him to be able to express by what he calls her what type of importance she had to him. Anyway, so yeah, going back to he wanted me to know that he loved his grandmother. Okay, so going back to him saying that I'm gonna have the quilt someday, Tree of Life quilt. And it's interesting that it's called Tree of Life, thinking about generations. But going back to him wanting me to have that quilt, saying I hope that even though you didn't know her, you'll know that she was a special lady to me. When Jamison died, my mom wanted me to take some of his shirts. And like, I think it mattered to her that I would want to take some of his stuff, which makes sense. So I'm thinking about that. after he's not served by me knowing his grandmother was a special lady to him. His grandmother, who I never met because I'm pretty sure she passed away before I was born, she's not served by me knowing that she was a special lady to him. And again, I'm not criticizing, I'm opening this up. I think what this kind of thing is the butter churns, candy dish on the table that was just a regular fixture in your home throughout your life. I think what people don't want to let go of what living was to them. As normal day-to-day life is different for each generation. I grew up with cassette tapes and then CDs, VHS tapes, DVDs came around when I was like preteen or something, I think. There's a reason that YouTube is full of these videos of, look, kids react to rotary, old style, like, you know, rotary dial telephones. Kids react to VHS tapes. Isn't it something that they don't know what this is when it's such a like a common mundane thing from our childhood? That's what day-to-day normal life was to us. It's a slice like of what the world that we most recognize of the stuff of our life. Not even the major events, but the stuff of what day-to-day just living and going through life, the extremely like base building blocks of it, the background stuff of life. It changes in ways that I think maybe people don't appreciate until they get a little bit older and see how much everything is different. See how different everything is, I should say. And it's just sad to think that I've talked about this before in my RPG Maker episode 36 of this series. After we die and everyone who knew us and or knew about us also dies, unless we're famous, we're basically gone. We are lost to the mists of time. We were just a people that nothing is now known about beyond commonalities of the people of that era, but nothing specific about who we were. And I feel like I'm going from large scale to small scale, specific to zoomed out, because I'm talking about stuff like VHS tapes, but I'm also talking about very specific family heirlooms. But it's not that you want to have your house full of VHS tapes. It's that you want to have in your house the VHS tape that your mother got you for your birthday when you were in 3rd grade. You know, my mom got me, example, my mom, I don't have it anymore, but she got me James and the Giant Peach, and Jamison got Toy Story. It's not that my dad has any butter churn in his house. It's the butter churn that belonged to his grandmother that his grandmother used. This was the stuff of life, and I think people passing this kind of thing forward is them not wanting to die permanently. Even after they die, they don't want what they were and what their lives were to just stop mattering. They want to leave some kind of imprint. They want their lives to have, I don't know how to phrase this, because I'm not saying they want to be famous or recognized, but I think people just want the stuff that mattered to them to just go on and not become just stuff, not just become irrelevant. Took a bunch of notes about this. I took a photo of my computer screen of the notepad document that I was kind of roughly organizing my thoughts in. Very last thing I wrote, we want to carry everything forward. Gestures are the way we carry the soul of things forward after the world and life have moved on from those things being the stuff of day-to-day life. And I've talked about gestures before, even within the series, but even on this rooftop I've talked about gestures before with Bobby. And this whole series is just a bunch of gestures and rituals. I bought amiibos of the characters Jamison liked. I picked the ice cream flavors from Baskin-Robbins based on tangential relations to memories of a childhood that I had with him. So thinking about naming a child after someone else, of course that child is going to be their own person. So if you expect them to embody something about the person you've lost that you loved, I guess you could say that's not fair, because that's not who that child is. They're their own person. You can't really criticize them for not living up to who the other person was. They didn't ask to be given that name, and they are just going to develop as they are. And I don't think anyone expects that necessarily, or maybe if they do, it's subconscious and they quickly realize they can't expect that. But yeah, I think what it is you're giving that child the name because you just, at the very least, you don't want every trace of that person you loved to disappear. You want to carry something about them forward. I named my guitar after Jamison's butchering of the spelling Wutai, that nation from Final Fantasy VII. His online name was Wuxia. He's mixed up the A and the I, so I named my guitar Wuxia after that innocent thing that young innocent Jamison did when he was curious and hadn't gotten into drugs yet. As I've said before, I was the summer break after Jamison died. I stayed in my room a lot and played a lot of video games because I didn't know what else to do. Played NieR Automata. It mattered to me that I used the music from the city ruins in my series on that first hike, because that music, of course I was thinking about Jamison that whole time, but that music was basically a melody conveying loss. Just look at all that's lost. Tried to play Persona 5. I didn't finish it then, like that summer, 2018, but at that time, the main character of Persona 5 didn't yet have an official canonical name. You could name him whatever you wanted. And normally in cases like that, if there's no official name, I would just name him, I guess, like Jordan or something. I would just think of it as like I'm naming the file. But this time I named him Jamison, because I was just thinking, like, Jamison can't do this anymore. Jamison used to play games and maybe would name the character after himself. I think when he played like Zelda Ocarina of Time, he probably named the file Jamison. Jamison can't do this anymore, but this is something that Jamison might have done when he was younger and he was into this kind of stuff, and I wanted Jamison to be able to have this kind of adventure again, even though he wasn't. You know, he's gone, and he might not even know that I'm playing Persona, might not even care, and it doesn't matter to him probably that I'm naming the character after him. But I just wanted, it's a gesture. I wanted to feel like he was getting that chance again, that this was for him. Same thing with on the Nintendo Switch. You can make your little customizable avatars called Mii's, M-I-I, and with the online service, you can share Mii's that you've created for other people to download. Usually that means making recognizable characters that other people might seek out. Like somebody made a Woody from Toy Story. Prior to Sephiroth being revealed in Smash Brothers, someone made a Mii that looks like Sephiroth, so you can feel like you're playing a Sephiroth, and they share it, you can download it. It's stuff like that. I made a Mii of Jamison, and I made it a Mii Gunner. You can choose, for Smash, it can be Sword Fighter, Brawler, like Punch and Kick, or Gunner. And I did Gunner because Jamison was kind of in honor of this thing that he had been into, Metal Gear Solid, where, you know, Metal Gear Solid Snake uses guns and stuff. It was in honor of the type of aesthetic that he got into that at the time I wasn't very understanding of, because I didn't like it, and I felt like he and I had parted ways. It was kind of in honor of that I made Jamison a Gunner, and I shared that on the Nintendo Online service. People are not, you know, no one's gonna see that and be like, oh yeah, Jamison, I know. No one's gonna be looking for a Mii of Jamison, but I made a blue-eyed, brown-haired, as best I could get it to look like him, Jamison Mii, and shared it online because I wanted to put Jamison out there. feeling like I'm accomplishing anything by doing that, but I just wanted to put him out there. I just wanted some trace of him to still be around somehow, even if nobody would know what it was. I need to adjust the exposure now because it's getting dark. Okay. So all this stuff and names. Yeah, it's Ben has said before that, I mean, it's the reason I wear this bracelet. I told that story in a previous episode. It doesn't do anything now. It just reminds me of something good, and it feels like it's meaningful. You want to feel like the universe has validated something you put out there, like some kind of ideal that you put out there to be tested. You want to feel like you got a positive response. You got a, I think Ben said, like the universe's stamp of approval, and you can substitute that with, you know, God or whatever. I'm speaking generally in a way that I hope most people can understand. The cosmos, just, if there's any significance, if there's any kind of harmony, rhyme, or reason, intention, necessity, meaning to being, you want to feel like you're striving after it, or at least I do. A lot of people do. So it matters to people that the things, I love the series, the manga and anime series One Piece, and there's a line from fairly early in that series. A man who is about to die is reassuring someone who is going to be really wrecked by it. He says, when do you think a man dies? Is it when he's shot through the heart? Is it when he's poisoned, etc.? No, it's when he's forgotten. A man dies when he's forgotten. One Piece deals a lot with the idea of inherited will. It's a very, very prominent theme. Earlier this year, a country singer named Charley Pride that I wasn't extremely familiar with, but I really loved, like almost to the point of tears, a song that he has called Burgers and Fries. And you should look it up. I'm not going to play it because I just don't want to deal with the risk of YouTube doing something about that, but Burgers and Fries. In the lyrics, he talks about going to drive-in movie theaters, and he says the line, "In a world we used to know," which is a really kind of heart-rending line to me. He says it more in a kind of bittersweet, mostly celebratory, positive tone, I guess, but it's a little bit of a bittersweet song, and it's always been a really powerful, just song in general, but especially that line. The stuff of regular day-to-day life, stuff that was on the minds of young people, teenagers and young adults decades ago, was going to the diner for, you know, milkshakes, malts, whatever, you know what I'm talking about. Going to the drive-in movie theater. It evokes a simpler, more innocent time. And you get older and you don't recognize the world anymore. You don't recognize what it's become. It's why you don't see a lot of senior citizen streamers on Twitch doing game stuff. It's just after a certain point, I don't know, I don't want to get too far off track here, but things change so much, it seems like a betrayal of what in your mind was the proper way of existing, maybe. And you just don't even want to engage with it. You don't even care to try to know what this new thing is. I guess you could say that's a failing of older people who just become set in their ways or stubborn, but I think it kind of makes sense. I think there's a little bit of existential dread when everything that was normal and was regular and was standard and was what you knew is just either uprooted or just stripped away or just fades into obscurity. It's sad as you become increasingly less relevant. And so yeah, I think a lot of this stuff is, as I've said before, and I don't want to repeat myself too much, but I think it's people wanting to in some way preserve what mattered, what life was for them, whether it's a person they loved and a name given, or just things that they were familiar with, that they enjoyed, that are, you know, tied to good memories they have, probably with people that they cared about. People just want to carry this forward because it matters, because it just matters. Like, there's no practical use for it. It just matters, and maybe that's probably a really loose connection to the idea in the game that I was talking about of Roxas wanting to reclaim his sigil, but that's fine. Like, that was, the game stuff is usually just a jumping off point for me to think about. It provides me new angles from which to approach this subject of everything about Jamison and his life and his death and what's left afterwards with me and my family and friends of Jamison's. Yeah. As I've said before in other videos, like episode 46, I think I went pretty hard on Tetsuya Nomura, but I don't think he's a good writer or storyteller. It wouldn't surprise me if this wasn't intentional, he just accidentally stumbled onto this idea that I think is actually pretty interesting, but Roxas wanting to reclaim the sigil just because he wanted to, not for some convoluted, oh thank goodness I found a way to connect these events that I didn't plan, like writer's shortcut purpose. Like Roxas, no plot purpose, Roxas just wanted to do it because he just wanted to do it. That is maybe my favorite idea in the entire game of Kingdom Hearts 3. And I don't know if it was on purpose, but I think that's the most interesting, and it resonates a lot with me. The first time I saw it, I was like, oh, that's kind of strange. And I was with Bobby, who had already seen that scene, and he was telling me that when he first saw it, it was kind of off-putting to him because it was like, you guys didn't need this sigil to be friends, like your friendship already was real and true, but I understand that, and so that scene could come across as a little bit fake manufactured drama, maybe, but I don't know, just thinking about it, rewatching the footage as I was editing it, preparing for this episode, maybe I'm reading more into it than I ought to be, but something about it resonated with me and this, so that's where I'm at with that. I approach this series for Jamison. Let me back up. There's one more thing I want to talk about. Seems disconnected, but there's a movie that I watched with Jamison and my dad. I'd already seen it many times, but I watched it with them together because I wanted to show them. It's an anime movie called Tekkonkinkreet. Based on a manga also called Tekkonkinkreet, or I think it's sometimes called Black and White. The main characters are these two. I don't think they're blood brothers, but they are effectively their relationships to each other. Older brother, younger brother. Older brother is black, younger brother is white. White is innocent and pure and big imagination, big heart. And black is kind of more jaded, more street smart, knows kind of what's going on around him and has to, and he sees it as his job, kind of as his duty to protect white from the corruption and badness of the world. He wants to preserve that precious essence of who white is, his innocence. And the movie is kind of about whether or not he will be able to do that. I don't want to give the movie. I really love that movie, and I bring it up because yeah, I showed. After having seen it a few times already, I showed my dad and Jamison, I want to say in 2010, and they watched, and then afterwards, Jamison didn't say anything, but after the credits were rolling, Jamison went and looked at the DVD, like silently, wordlessly, just went and looked at the DVD case on the table, just to, I guess, see what the title was. and then he went upstairs or whatever, he left. But later he messaged me, I want to say he texted me or something. Might have been later that night or the next day or a few days later, and he said, "That movie you showed me was one of the best movies I've ever seen." And he thought the artistry in it was amazing. And yeah, it is. Jamison was talking about what an ordeal it must have been. If you are an artist, you notice things like that. If you try to do things that are artistic, you notice things like that. You think about things like that. What an ordeal that must have been. And I wanted to bring that up because so much here, so much that might seem like nothing, but to me there's a lot here. Black and white. Thinking about names, they were named that for a very pretty, if you watch the movie, very obvious symbolic reasons. Black and white. Roxas, Kingdom Hearts deals a lot with light and darkness, and Roxas, as a being who shouldn't exist and who is kind of in between and neither, is a being of nothing. He's literally called, like, what he is a nobody. Kingdom Hearts 2 deals a lot with nobodies and the idea of nothing, and it's represented with black and white together. That's the color scheme of Roxas, and that's I'm wearing, you can see this, black shorts and a white shirt. I did that on purpose. I'm wearing my black and white flip-flops that I bought in Busan when I recorded over a year ago, like last summer, when I recorded the episode that was meant to correspond with the gameplay section of Roxas coming back in the base game. Please stay with me on this. The gameplay portion in this episode is an echo of that part. It's a DLC repeats a lot of the stuff from the base game, and this episode's gameplay section is an echo of that. And so I wanted the vlog section to be kind of an echo of that. So I'm wearing the same clothes. I have the same white shirt, same black shorts, same flip-flops that I was wearing. I even made a point of not shaving because I hadn't shaved for that one, and I had some, like facial hair, and I wanted it here. Same recording location. I wanted it to echo, and all the specifics here don't matter, except I just wanted to do them. My point is, I'm trying to draw your attention to the fact that I did this intentionally, and I'm building up to just saying that, even though this series is not going to be in a museum, I do treat it as art. I go about it, if I don't take it seriously and if I don't look at it as an artistic endeavor, I don't guess anyone will. That doesn't matter. The point is, yeah, I am treating this as art, and I like themes. I like subtext and stories. My favorite thing about stories is what it is about, like what statement it's making about the human experience and life. And that's by far the most interesting part of stories to me. It's not literally what happens, although I mean, you can't be lazy on that either, but, I don't believe in abandoning substance and just saying, oh, it's themes, but yeah, themes are very significant to me, and if I can see what an author or a writer or whatever, a storyteller is doing thematically, and I think they've done it in like a not too on the nose way, like somewhat sophisticated, and it's nice and cohesive and makes sense, I enjoy that the way a mechanic might enjoy just seeing the structure of a well-functioning, well-constructed, well-made, well-oiled machine. Like just seeing it in action, I can admire it, and I try to replicate that. And so there are a lot of little thematic things that I try to do with these videos that probably some of them are fairly obvious, and sometimes I just come right out and say what they are if it's related to the topic, and it almost always is related to the topic. I don't always point it out, but there are also lots of little touches I do with the thumbnail, with the end screen where the cards for other videos recommended pop up, for like essentially B-roll, like getting to the location footage that I shoot and things that I choose to linger on a bit more. There are all sorts of little things I do that I'm doing intentionally, even if it seems like it's not necessary, because I'm trying to I guess reinforce is the word. I'm trying to just reinforce the theme. Like the theme that I'm trying to have for this episode, I'm trying to just strengthen it a bit more. And so there are tons of little things I do that I don't point out. If people were to recognize them, I'd be very happy. I don't think realistically most people are gonna, A, just watch this at all, and B, they're probably not gonna think about it. Most people's brains are not like mine. They haven't been trained to be like theme hunters. Like they're not, you know, they weren't English majors in college, literature majors, whatever, but that's stuff I like, and if someone can see a little bit of what I'm doing, that'd make me happy. But it's not the kind of thing that I think I want to explain, because that would, it's just not what you do with themes. Like you don't say what they are, it needs to just be in the work. It's like David Lynch talks about that. In this case I'm explaining, I gave some very basic examples of what I was doing because I wanted to just introduce and illustrate the fact that I do this. But yeah, Jamison, as someone who tried his hand at art in various forms, did that. And he appreciated that about the movie. And for some reason that movie, I like it so much, and it's about two brothers, and it's about one brother who's worried about his younger brother being corrupted. I mean, you know, fairly obvious parallels here, but between me and Jamison, or I should say between that and me and Jamison, but maybe for that reason, maybe for other reasons, that memory sticks out of my mind of me showing Jamison that movie. Like, I think it's also because I was happy that he responded so positively to something that I showed him, because we had Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts when I was 14 and he was 9, and I said that in the first episode of this series, and we bonded over that. And then it's like after a year or two, we grew apart and he got into other stuff, and it was, maybe I'm somewhat, as a kid and a teen, I was kind of controlling and wanted people to be into the stuff that I was into, and Jamison especially, but it was not satisfying to see him go off and get into this other stuff that I thought was like maybe not good for him, and also just didn't find interesting. So yeah, I was an adult. I was 21, 22 when I showed Jamison Tekkonkinkreet, so he would have been 16 or 17. And it had been a while since the RPGs on the PlayStation 1 and 2. So it was something that I liked a lot, that I showed him, that he responded so positively to, that he went and like made a point to look at the DVD case to make sure he knew what it was called. And I think he even borrowed it and showed some of his friends because he wanted them to see it. So I think I was just really happy that he responded that way. So for that reason, I wanted to talk about Tekkonkinkreet and actually talk about it, like the movie, and explain all that stuff. And I also wanted to explain that for that reason, because it stood out to me, it was important to me that I incorporate, like, I use a lot of music in this series, and I try to use music that either Jamison liked, or that he and I both liked, or that maybe he didn't know about, but that for whatever reason makes me think of him, or that makes me think of something related to all this stuff. It was important to me that I used music from Tekkonkinkreet if I could. And as a matter of fact, there's a track called This City that I've used so many times. It's probably the track that I've used the most consistently. I use it not in every episode, but in a whole lot of them. I've used it on this rooftop before, at least once. Maybe twice. I think maybe twice, at least. It's a wonderful piece of music, and it's beautiful on its own, and it also is fairly versatile. It fits well with the type of stuff I talk about as like background music that doesn't really get in the way. It goes well with sunsets, and it's from Tekkonkinkreet, and I try to include stuff that was significant to me and him. And I just wanted to, because I've gotten so much mileage out of that song, I just wanted to kind of explain that about that particular song, just give that piece of art, Tekkonkinkreet, a shout out. something that he liked, that he might would recommend it to you today if he were still alive, and I certainly recommend it to you. One of the symbolic things I did was yesterday when I came here, in order to justify being up here, I bought a coffee, and I bought the one, I think it was called Dark Holic, and it has beans from Colombia, among other, Brazil, I think also, and Brazil, Colombia, and somewhere else. And today the drink I got was an Oreo shake, because Oreo shake is black and white, and Roxas's color scheme is black and white. I do, all this stuff, I do all this stuff. I got this Oreo shake for that reason. Also because Bobby got it yesterday and it looked really good, but it was primarily for the black and white. Talking about people wanting to carry things forward with gestures, and they want to leave some kind of imprint on time, on the world. That actually was what convinced me to, when after I saw the smudge on my shirt, I washed it, and then the smudge was still there. It wasn't as bad on the front, but it was still very much there on the back, and it still very much is. And I was like, well, this sucks, what can I do about this? But then I just decided to, I'm going to be talking about, I'm going to be saying the word imprint anyway, so I can, in a weird little way, I just thought, okay, this is fine. There's a mark on my shirt. Literally just the idea of a mark, of leaving a mark. Speaking of artistic endeavors, I've said before, I think, but Jamison was always more go get him, just go start doing it than I was about creative stuff, art. I was interested in it, and I tend to be okay at a lot of it. I can learn it, but I dragged my feet. Jamison was more, Jamison would actually sit down and start doing it, and I would get more distracted by other stuff. But Jamison dying and not being able to do this kind of stuff anymore was kind of a kick in the pants for me. It made me really start doing stuff, at least more than I already had been. And part of that's guitar, which I'm still working on. It's a source of stress because it doesn't come easily to me, but part of that's guitar, and part of that is spiders taking refuge under my tripod. I'm gonna take care of that. It's a tiny one. Anyway. Yeah, sorry you can't come home with me. Fix the exposure again. Anyway, artistic endeavors, Jamison was more gung-ho about it than me. I've gotten started. One of the things is guitar. One of the things I've been doing recently, and I didn't expect this, but I'll talk about it more later, I guess, but one of the things I've been doing more recently is, since I was a teenager, I've always been interested in voice acting, and I would watch anime or play games, and I had my favorite voice actors, and I would recognize their names, learn their names, and I would start to make lists of my ideal English dub voice cast for a show or a game that I liked that either hadn't received an English dub or hadn't received one that I liked. And yeah, I would just dub stuff. One Piece, after the terrible 4Kids dub, it was picked up by Funimation, who were based in Texas, and I thought, well, that's kind of halfway good news, but I didn't really like Funimation dubs that much, and I had always wanted One Piece to be dubbed by like California-based, like Bang Zoom or Bandai or Jenny and whoever, like the California guys at the time. So I made like my own it's getting really specific, but anyway, voice acting, I've been into that. And I actually have started doing it as a hobby. Like, there's a website that I have used, and I auditioned for a role, and I got it. First thing I auditioned for. And then since then I've auditioned for other stuff, and I've gotten cast 5 more times. So in total I've been chosen for 6 different roles, and I'm still hoping for more. And so I've been learning how to do a lot of stuff regarding voice acting. Ordered pipes, put them together, and built like a sound treated booth to reduce room echo for higher quality recordings. And I act and play characters in like fan-made dubs of like games and animation and stuff, and I've learned a lot, and it's been a blast. And my profile on the site that I use is it's my name, but it's Jordan Allen. I just go by Jordan Allen on that site, first name, middle name, because when I was a kid, my mom, I've wanted to be like an author since I was really young. When I was a kid, my mom said that someday I could be an author. When I was an adult, I could, publish my book, and I could use the pen name Jordan Allen. And I thought that was a great idea. It sounds like it has a ring to it. It sounds better than Jordan Bagwell. If you're looking at a book on a shelf and the title is whatever by Jordan Allen, I just feel like that's more of a harmonious name, that like you're curious about that author who is Jordan Allen more so than Jordan Bagwell. Maybe. Someone actually, I told that to someone once, and he told me, no, pen names are out of style, you should just use your first and last name. But no, it's not about style. I don't care what is trendy for writers now. Like I want to use Jordan Allen because my mom suggested that, and I thought it was a good idea. I liked the way it sounded. It was like a same thing with my dad's grandmother saying that he would inherit the quilt one day. It's not so much about the specifics, it's about this thing from the past that mattered to us being realized in the future. And so, yeah, I named my profile Jordan Allen, and that's what I plan to publish my book when I eventually someday finish my book. That's what I plan to publish under. The book is probably going to be dedicated to my family, to my mom and my dad and Jamison. So, yeah, it just seems more meaningful, even if it's not in style, to use that name Jordan Allen. And I'm not meaning to talk so much about myself. What I'm trying to get at, it's just another example of what I've been talking about this whole video, of gestures and of these things having a reason behind them and meaning something, and that meaning being practically unimportant most of the time, but just being the way we want it. It's just the way we want it to go, because we think that's how it should go for whatever reason. Yeah, I'm not saying any of this is bad or good necessarily, although I guess I'd probably be leaning more towards good. But I just think it is what it is. It's just kind of what we do. On my profile on that site that I use for voice acting, I link to and explain this tribute series, and I do point out that a lot of what drives my creative efforts now is Jamison, and just being inspired by him and trying to take advantage of the opportunity to do that, which is an opportunity that I still have that he doesn't have anymore. No one needs to know that. No one needs to know all that. No one reading my profile, that's not going to help a casting director decide whether or not I'm right for their project. I just put it there because I want people to know the importance of Jamison to me, and the stuff of my life. I don't want it to fade, and that's what this series is as well. I want to I don't know. I've complained a lot about people not watching and not caring, and part of that is personal. Like, I feel ignored and abandoned and hurt, that people just don't care or can't be bothered. Oh, it's too long. Oh, well, I'm sorry. This thing from my dead brother is too long. Enjoy your Netflix. You know, like, part of it is personal. It hurts me. Because, like, why don't you care about me? Why don't you, if you're my friend, whatever. But part of it is, honestly, really, truly, I want to spread Jamison's stories. This is a tribute to Jamison, and I want it to be, I mean, Ben described it once as a digital tomb, and tombs were full of things that, yeah, like, you know, ancient tombs and stuff you think about, like, it's full of stuff that the dead people aren't going to use. Although I guess in those cases they believed, the people believed that their spirits might use them, but yeah, it's, it doesn't help him, it's just I want to put it out there. I want to carry Jamison forward in everything I do. No. I guess that's, the name of this tribute series is Good. Always on my mind. It's very lucky for me that that was a music track from Kingdom Hearts that ended up playing in Kingdom Hearts 3, which I didn't expect. That was a track that he and I both liked. That also just makes a lot of sense for this series. That was a lucky thing. That there kind of feels like, I mean, it's most likely a coincidence, but it does feel like one of those things where the cosmos has validated, has given me this gift, this opportunity of just enhancing what I'm trying to do. It's given me its stamp of approval. That's kind of what it feels like. The same way that going 2 summers ago, going to the Ganal Lumber where Jamison worked, and accidentally, while recording footage for this series, recording the license plate of that guy who ripped them off or stole from them or whatever, and helping them get the police, like helping them help the police to catch that guy. That was essentially, it was because of Jamison that they were helped in that way. Like, that felt right. That felt like, what are the chances of that, of it being me? Me while recording for this series. Like, what, you know, that just felt right. That felt like the universe giving me an extra push. Yeah, there you go. Do your best to tie all that together. Names and heirlooms, physical heirlooms, like actual tangible heirlooms that you can have sitting on a shelf and pick up and hold, and metaphysical, conceptual heirlooms like names, things to carry stuff forward, gestures. There's all that stuff, and then there's just the kind of vague notions of things mattering to people. I don't know. There it is. That's all the stuff I thought about for this episode. Tie it all together as you will. I'd say this one turned out much better than what I attempted yesterday. And it's a good thing I was about finished, because some people have come up and decided to sit next to me and laugh. That might be another bit of universe doing me a solid. It gave me a nice stretch of relative quiet before the people parked right next to me. There is some other stuff I wanted to say in regards to all of this, but it would kind of give away some stuff that I have planned for future episodes, so I guess I won't, and I'll just try to remember to say it later when it's relevant. Anyway. Okay. Tomorrow and the next 2 days after that are essentially Thanksgiving break in Korea, Chuseok break. It's the equivalent of Thanksgiving, but it's just in September. So I'm gonna have some time, a little bit more time than I usually have to work on these. I don't know why I'm saying this. Okay.
Winks. Got him. Lizard man.